The old woman made a deal with the dark sorcerer. She schemed to sacrifice a girl to the demon. But what happened next deviated from the plan. The people around her began to encounter strange occurrences. The male lead even contemplated killing his own mother.
Tamam, hazırsın.
Fortunately, it was just a dream. However, a day later, his mother still died. The demon was already able to influence their minds. It couldn't only project illusions, but could also possess and kill them. However, these demons were not invincible. In front of a powerful exorcist, they were merely Karami, but he had little time left. Once the demon descended, he would be doomed as well. Yet the old woman's initial goal was simply revenge. The story takes place in February 2018, when there was no full moon, so it was called the Black Moon. This phenomenon only occurs in February, and happens roughly once every 19 years, in a remote and eerie location. The witch was introducing a curse to the old woman Lisa, called the Zulmat evil ritual. When the black moon occurs, those with grudges can take revenge through curses. Lisa had her land forcibly taken by developers, and they even hired assassins to kill her family. So Lisa sought out the witch, but the other party told her that once the curse begins, it must be completed. Otherwise, she would face severe backlash. Lisa firmly stated that she wanted revenge, so the witch told her that she needed a sacrifice. Lisa went out onto the streets to look for a lone child. Soon, she found a girl named Yang on a swing, and successfully lured her to the witch. The ritual officially began. Through the blood pool, it could be seen that Yang had already been possessed by the demon. As the witch finished her chant, Yang fell into a coma. The Zulmat curse was completed. Lisa needed to bury Yang alive the next night. If anything went wrong, the demon would come for Lisa. Then the witch gave her a special cursed amulet, made from the bones of 7 different animals. Burying it together would complete the ritual. Lisa came to Ms. Azu's house to apply for the nanny position, and she was introduced to the family members. Azu's husband is named Kyle. They have 2 daughters, Helen and Linda. Additionally, Kyle's mother has Alzheimer's, and Linda has just recovered from a serious illness. Lisa's task is to take care of the elderly mother and Linda. Lisa quickly assured them that it would be no problem. Azu thought she was quite good, and hired Lisa. The family had just moved here recently. Helen had been acting strangely since they arrived. She could hardly focus on eating. Azu guessed it was because she had left her friends behind. Kyle seemed troubled lately, but when asked, he wouldn't say what was wrong. He used to work as a doctor, and suddenly resigned recently. Kyle moved the family to the old house left by his uncle, but now he said he wanted to find another job as a doctor. Azu was very confused, not understanding why he was going through all this trouble, but he only told her he needed a break. At night, Lisa was taking care of the elderly lady, but the lady questioned her why she was there, and said that the cost of interrupting the process would be severe. The elderly woman seemed to know something. Then Lisa returned to her room to tidy up. Suddenly, her deceased son appeared behind her, and questioned her why she hadn't kept her promise. Then the witch also appeared behind her. Clearly, the ritual had gone wrong. Meanwhile, Kyle was transferring a liquid from one cup to another. Azu quietly watched from the side. Then she walked over to help him. After that, Kyle went to see what Linda was doing, but when he opened the door, he was startled. His mother stood by the bathtub and inside lay Linda. Both were covered in blood. Kyle hurriedly picked up Linda and rushed out of the room. But the next moment, he saw a blood-soaked Linda standing beside him. When Kyle looked down at what he was holding, he realized that he was holding Yang. Kyle woke up abruptly. It turned out to be just a nightmare, but it was clear that he had some connection with Yang. On the other side, a local exorcist sensed something unusual. It seemed that a demon wanted to come to the human world through the black moon. Suddenly, the exorcist saw the witch and the ritual. Then the demon warned the master from a distance. It threatened him not to interfere, or he would face the consequences. But the master wasn't going to let them off easily. He decided to eliminate the demon. The next day, Lisa was feeding the elderly lady. Suddenly, the lady took the spoon and fed herself a bite. Lisa was startled, but the next moment, everything returned to normal. The elderly lady sat quietly across from her. Lisa had no idea what was happening. Late at night, Helen heard her sister calling her. She turned and saw Linda covered in blood, rushing towards him. The next moment, she was jolted awake. One could only say that this family had a habit of having nightmares, but Helen still heard her sister calling her when she arrived at Linda's room. However, it was a dream within a dream. Her sister had not grown up. It seemed that Linda also had some kind of secret. Meanwhile, Lisa heard her sons shout, so she went to the living room to check. Suddenly, a hand began to tap her from behind. When Lisa turned around, she saw her son. After a while, Kyle came into his mother's room with a box. He asked her if she was willing to help save Linda. The elderly lady replied that of course she could. Just like killing Yang, Kyle was puzzled and asked her how she knew about Yang. The elderly lady said that the child had come to tell her himself. However, Kyle didn't react after hearing this. He took out a tube from the box and wrapped it several times around his mother's face. Then he helped her to the stairs and suddenly pushed her down. Kyle suddenly woke up. It was indeed just a dream. He hurried to check his mother's room. Fortunately, she was quietly lying in bed. Kyle prepared to return to his room to continue sleeping, but just as he lay down, he heard his mother calling him, so he quickly went to the next bedroom again. To his surprise, the bed was empty. Kyle rushed to the stairs, and his mother was indeed here, and accidentally fell down the stairs. In the end, he died tragically. She ultimately died tragically. This time it was not a dream. After a while, Kyle just returned home after work at night. When a man in a suit got into his car, he came to demand Kyle's $2 million debt, but now he had no money. The man didn't care. He stated that if the debt wasn't paid, he would send Kyle to jail. After saying this, he left immediately. When Kyle returned home, he yelled at his eldest daughter, but Helen was also very agitated. She expressed that this family didn't care about her at all, only cared about her sister. Lisa also heard the argument. As she returned inside, she recalled some past events. At that time, she was burying Yang, when suddenly the man in the suit arrived. He and his men rescued Yang. It turned out that the child belonged to him. The man in the suit specifically captured children to make them beg, and Yang was the child who begged the most. So after he went missing, the man hurried to search for him. Finally, he found Lisa and rescued the child. Thus, the Zulmut ritual was interrupted. Lisa would suffer severe backlash. Meanwhile, the man in the suit's accomplice was checking the children's earnings, but the money brought back today was not much. He suspected that the children had spent some of it themselves. The man in the suit didn't listen to the children's explanations at all. As he spoke, he was about to take out a steel rod to punish them. The accomplice was very shocked, not expecting that Yang's ghost would suddenly appear, and that it could actually kill him. By midnight, Linda woke up from her sleep and saw a terrifying scene. A grave appeared in the room. Her deceased grandmother was digging at the grave's grass, occasionally glancing at Linda, while her parents and sister stood outside the window. They looked very much like a painting. Then the grandmother stood up and grabbed Linda's leg. She screamed in terror, but the illusion vanished at this moment. Lisa and the family rushed into Linda's room to ask what happened. Linda said she wanted to sleep with Lisa. Azu agreed. After that, Kyle's mind was filled with the dream he had. He felt he had no choice but to wake his wife. Kyle told her the whole truth. It turned out that Kyle had bought Yang from the man in the suit to save his daughter's life. After bringing Yang home, he kept drawing blood to transfuse to Linda. Ultimately, the excessive blood draw led to Yang's death, but Kyle showed no remorse. He kept arguing that every father would do the same. At this moment, Linda walked in. Azu urged her daughter to come to her. Suddenly, they seemed to be possessed by a demon. The next moment, Kyle was startled again. It was yet another nightmare. Meanwhile, Azu was still fast asleep. Kyle was very confused. At the same time, Lisa wasn't sleeping. She was staring at Linda. At this moment, the phone rang. It was the man in the suit calling. He said he knew all of Lisa's secrets, and demanded that she come out with money in 2 hours. Otherwise, he would expose her. However, Lisa had no money left. Then she recalled what had happened a few days ago. On the third day after Yang was taken, Lisa finally arrived at the witch's residence. She told the witch everything, but to her surprise, the witch said she already knew. The demon had informed her, and also that Yang was dead. Someone had drained his blood. The culprit had a daughter at home. Now, the way to atone was to kill the girl. Otherwise, greater disasters would befall them. So Lisa came to Kyle's house as a nanny. In fact, she was looking for an opportunity to kill Linda. Suddenly, the witch slowly stood up behind her, and the table began to shake. Lisa walked over and opened a drawer. Meanwhile, the man in the suit suddenly saw several children ahead. They were all children he had harmed. The man in the suit didn't take it seriously. He got out of the car and told them to leave quickly. But unexpectedly, the children suddenly began to throw stones. The man in the suit, in pain, hurried back to the car. Suddenly, Yang appeared in the passenger seat. It seemed that he was also about to be killed. At this moment, Kyle wasn't doing well either. He was running around the house in a panic. Kyle even found an underground room he had never seen before. There was a strange bed in the room. Then a noise came from the next room. The whole family, along with Yang, was watching a video. It detailed Kyle's criminal activities. He needed fresh blood to treat Linda, so Kyle collaborated with the traffickers. But later, he accidentally killed Yang. They used this to blackmail him. That's why the family moved to this old house. Kyle realized he had gone mad. He sat in the basement shouting and screaming. Azu woke up hearing the noise. She wanted to go down to look for her husband. Suddenly, she saw a strange Linda outside the door, who said that she would die tonight. Then Azu was possessed by the demon. Meanwhile, the exorcist also sensed the demon's presence. Possessed Azu went to her eldest daughter's room. Soon, Helen was also controlled. At this moment, Lisa still dared not kill Linda. She could only come outside the room to calm down. But unexpectedly, the possessed mother and daughter appeared, telling her to hurry and complete her task. They warned her that there would be no opportunity after tonight. Lisa had no choice but to wake up Linda, who was sleeping soundly. Then she said she would take her to play a game. Then Lisa used tape to cover her mouth and put a hood on her. She led Linda to a pit in the garden. Linda couldn't understand any of this. Seeing something fun, she jumped right in. At this time, the exorcist arrived near the old house. He could sense the aura of the demon. As the exorcist entered the room, he suddenly felt darkness and could see nothing. But he sensed that a dark ritual was taking place downstairs. The exorcist arrived at a room, and he happened to encounter the controlled mother and daughter. Although he couldn't see, the exorcist's senses were still very sharp. He reached out and grabbed both of them. While beginning to chant incantations, the exorcist pulled the demon into a dark realm and learned the whole story from the demon's mouth. But Linda was innocent. The demon said it had made a deal with a cursed wizard. Seeing that they were still resisting, the exorcist unleashed his ultimate move. Meanwhile, Lisa was burying Linda alive. If she succeeded, the demon would officially descend. In a critical moment, Lisa's son appeared. He stated he didn't need revenge for himself. He wanted Lisa to let everything go. As the shovel in her hand dropped, the exorcist and the mother and daughter returned to reality. The demon was sent to the abyss of Shishin. Lisa rescued Linda, saying that the game was over. But from Linda's gaze, it was evident that she seemed to know something. The film ended here. At the end of the movie, there was a note. The male protagonist was based on a real person, and his daughter was actually not sick, but the male protagonist had severe mental illness. He had imagined all of this. The story was adapted from the words of the real person. Most of the scary scenes in the film relied on jump scares. The plot was relatively too simple. Additionally, it was lengthy and progressed slowly. After watching, there was no lingering horror, only a sense that The Exorcist was quite impressive. The original film is not recommended. If you enjoy my channel, please subscribe to my channel. Your support is the greatest encouragement for me.